My favorite memory of last night in Soho was Matt, Thomason and I all doing the dance sequence. That was so much fun. I'm wearing this insane pink dress, which is quite amazing because it's made out of flowing chiffon, but it was beautiful and it made me feel classy. As an actor, it's all in your head until you put on your costume. It helps you believe, it helps you leave the outside world behind. It's magical.
Hi, Focus fans. Welcome to the first ever episode of Dressed, a new series taking a deep dive into the costumes of some of our favorite Focus films. In today's episode, we'll be journeying back to a whole other era as we highlight some of the costumes from Edgar Wright's film, Last Night in Soho. Starring Thomasin McKenzie and Anya Taylor-Joy, Last Night in Soho follows an aspiring fashion designer, Eloise, who possesses a strange ability to transport herself back to the 1960s, where she encounters Sandy, a captivating up-and-coming singer. But the bright lights and glamour aren't all they appear to be, as Eloise's world starts to splinter into something dark and disturbing.
Where are you going?
Last Night in Soho explores two very different eras in fashion, all set in the Soho district of London. From the contemporary day looks of young fashion students to the colorful, show-stopping designs of the swinging 60s. And I actually have the costumes right behind me.
Care for a demonstration?
I'm gonna highlight this, and I know you're all looking at me saying, Joe, that's not a costume, that's a hoodie. You're wrong. This is a costume because a costume tells a story. And the first time we see Eloise walking in London in the 60s, she is wearing this hoodie, but someone at the ball slides it off her shoulders like it was a feathered cape. That really showed the contrast between the two eras and also the two characters.
Wow, it really suits you.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
And of course, I'm not gonna talk about the 60s or modern day if we can't talk about this white trench coat, Mac, whatever you wanna call it, but everything about this is so emblematic of today and of the 60s. The white, the patent leather, the structure, inspired by a lot of the 60s designers like Paco Rabanne and Pierre Cardin, but also incredibly modern in the way that many kids would be able to wear this today.
Guess I just like the old songs better than the stuff today.
Music was better, yeah.
But of course, we are not talking about all these costumes if we don't talk about this particular dress. The very first time we see Anya Taylor-Joy cascade down the stairs, she's wearing this wisp of a dress that is beautiful and coral and chiffon that floats behind her almost like a dream. And it looks so simple, but it's incredibly well designed. If you look at it, there's tiny pin tucks around the neck, the silver beading detail, even a tiny bow, all true to the era. Every little tuck and detail that is done around this neckline is what gave it its movement, and the movement is what became that character. I would love to know the thought process behind this dress and all of the designs. Why don't we get the costume designer Odile Dicks-Mireaux on the phone?
This is just a taste of things to come.
Hey Odile, thank you for joining me. We have been going through the costumes from the film. They are incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Joe.
We opened the film on Contemporary Day London. Now I know a lot of people think, oh, contemporary clothes, how hard can that be? But it's actually harder to design contemporary clothes than it is to do period. Is that not true?
Yes, absolutely. When you see a good contemporary film, I'm always full of admiration. I had a very good young assistant who was just out of college. She pretended I was her aunt and we went into the art colleges and I used to sit there. We would literally look at what they were wearing and see the variety of looks. And then we would go out and shop and buy a combination of clothing and put some looks together to then show Edgar. You've got to believe that she is this young fashion student. So we did decide that she should be quite neutrally coloured when she dreamt herself back into the 60s. But when she went to fashion school, I had to contrast her with the four other girls.
Yeah, she literally made the outfit she's wearing. How amazing. All of us turn up in our Sunday best and she's here rocking her own design.
A big part of the movie is the transition from contemporary day to the swinging 60s, which was such an emblematic era in terms of fashion. I actually thought it was incredibly interesting the way that you use colors to tell the story of the two different eras.
Edgar's not afraid of colour, which was exciting. So I looked at a lot of Brigitte Bardot pictures, a lot of Julie Christie, a lot of films of the period, that Edgar wanted us to look at. I think we were very much trying to get colour into the scenes without distracting from Anya. So obviously nobody else was allowed to wear peach. The tent dress I really agonised over because I was very worried about how much chiffon I would need to do. I didn't want to have too little, but not too much. To do that dress is not as easy as you think. When she went on the dance floor and did what she did with it, I just thought, you're my dream. You made the dress work. And she was always up for that, always making the clothes work. Wonderfully collaborative in that sense. Once you gave her the costume, she went, yeah, I can do this.
I want to be your new headline act.
Where have you played before?
Nowhere.
Who starts at the Café de Paris?
Me.
I want to ask you about the white MAC coat. How did you land on this white MAC in particular?
It was out there. It wasn't something just on Pierre Cardin. And actually, normal girls were wearing these MACs. You could have lots of different colours. And it was just deciding on the white, which was quite a brave decision on everybody's part. And I think it was very much a collaborative decision.
Everything was so well made back then.
I don't want to forget about the guys because men's fashion in this particular movie is as important as the ladies. Matt's costumes, how did his suits really evolve throughout the movie?
He was based really of a combination of Lawrence Harvey and Albert Finney in the 60s. So it was a combination of quite a sophisticated guy and a much rawer guy. He quite liked the idea of the pinstripe suit, which I thought was really great. I found this great checked fabric and I thought, cool, how bold can I get Matt to be? And then we did the mohair at the end. We was based more on the pop stars of the time to get that progression from 65 to 68. And then the coat story and how much his coat would reflect the character of Terence Stamp. They would have the similar shapes.
I hear you're quite the ladies' man.
What? How dare you? Still am. You never lose it.
We actually have two of my favorite looks from the film. The newspaper couture gown that opened the movie and the red dress that we see on Anya Taylor-Joy. How did you conceive that newspaper gown?
Edgar wrote her newspaper dress, so that was it. It was Edgar's idea. I had a fantastic maker on board. Once we went for a sort of an idea and Edgar said go with it, she created some little maquettes. Once he chose the style he liked, we then made it for Thomason so she could move in it and see how it worked and he could really visualize it. And then he went, yeah, I'm very happy with that shape. That was interesting to find out that newspaper is actually a very good material to make a dress out of.
What did you do to get that red dress? How important was the color and the design in implementing what that particular look was for Anya's character?
It's all about looking, really. I think a lot of design is just looking and absorbing things. And I found that pattern and I thought, wow, I think that says it. And we copied the original pattern pretty close to it. And so I was always thinking of the overall picture. When she has the black lace dress, when she's singing Downtown, that was very much another pinch from Julie Christie, that she was still looking quite elegant, quite chic. And then suddenly she has to be much more flamboyant. And the red was, in a way, perfect for the setup in that scene. I'm in love with the fabric of this red dress. I discovered it. It's kind of a silk, and that one just entirely did the trick for me.
Odile, thank you so much. I know you're crazy busy, but I love hearing it straight from the source.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed speaking to you.
This is why I appreciate costume design. You can tell right away these two gowns are their own characters. What a great way to set the tone for this movie, to have their modern day character, Eloise, romping around in a custom-made couture newspaper dress. And if you really look at the details of this, there is pleating everywhere. There's a bustier detail here that is actually sewn with pin tucking. We've got a waist here, a proper waist on a newspaper gown that is all gathered into a bustle and then a train. Newspaper dresses are back in style. And then you have this, a flaming red, hot little dress. They actually had to dye every single one of these bright colored dresses. And if you look at this, it doesn't even actually look dyed. The color is so spot on. It is so perfect. And the dress may look so simple, but I call this actually a Hello Goodbye dress. It has a lot to do with this giant bow detail on the back. And of course, this was an old Nina Ricci pattern Odile found online from the 60s that they cut into this dress. I love these dresses. And I think this is the perfect example of how you can take something in a movie, make it about the costume, but make it also really about the character. Well, thank you for joining me today on this episode of Dress. And I hope you learned a little something about costumes and loved them as much as I do. With so many more movies to come, there'll be so many more stories to tell. Until next time.